All right, so this is an important unit, and this has to do with emptying and rinsing your black tank, and that's what we're going to work on today. This is the yucky part of this whole thing, so let's go ahead and get this thing done. All right. Hey guys, so here's what we're doing today. We're going to empty our black tank. Now this is my fresh water coming in. This is my water panel, or where my hoses are all hooked up, and this is my black tank rinse. Now there's something really important when we talk about the black tank rinse, and that is that no matter what you do, the last thing you want to do is draw any type of water that has entered your black tank rinse back into the domestic water. And the way you can prevent that is, what you're supposed to do is there should be a backflow preventer on this system somewhere. And if it's not, to make sure that you don't do that and possibly contaminate your own water supply and the supply of everyone else, or the water supply for everyone else, I'm going to show you how to isolate this. So we're going to go and get this thing hooked up for you, all right? Let me back up here and explain what I mean by a black tank rinse. So on larger RVs where you use them a lot, like Sandy and I've been living in this unit for 5 years, you have a secondary hose connection that runs water straight into your black tank. And the way it works is you shut the valve on your black tank after you initially drain it, you pull it and drain it, and then you start that water running, and then you shut the valve, but not here. You shut the valve on a secondary valve that's connected to your hose, and what that does is that keeps you from gumming up stuff in this unit right here, right, when I'm going to get ready to empty this thing, okay? And it allows you to control flow. What you do is you close that valve at the sewer connection in the hose off and allow water to build up from this rinse connection right here, okay? And then once it fills up a certain amount, then you go ahead and drain it. What that does is that lifts all the debris that's off the bottom, that settles on the bottom of that tank. Instead of just draining it once and having debris up on the sides and stuff, by filling it back up with fresh water, what you're doing is you're allowing that to float some of that other debris out and get it out of the tank. And when you look down at that end, in my hose there is a clear viewing window that you can see the color of the water that's going down the sewer. So when that water runs clear, after it takes about 3 rinses for me, that water runs clear. I run water down that when it's clear, and then I shut my black tank valve here. And what happens is you don't get debris trapped in your valve, and it starts leaking sewer every time you hook your hose up. You travel down the road, you get out, you're all excited, you're ready to go. You're not thinking, you pull that plug and get splashed with sewer water because your valve's got debris in it. So that's why that's just part of the reason that I do it this way. Now what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the valve. So this is my black tank rinse hose. You see the black tape on it? This is because I don't want to confuse this hose with my domestic water, okay? I don't want to be hooking this up to my filter, bringing it in the house, knowing that there's the likelihood that contaminated water may have backed out of this hose. So that's why it's black. Now what I do is I include a two-way on and off connector with this. Now the reason I do that is this controls the water supply. And when I connect this to the RV, what I do is I start in the off position on both units. Oh, got myself a little tangle here. All right, there you go. That would never happen again in a million years. Anyway, so there you go. I'm going to connect this unit to the Y with it in the off position. No water can get through. And then because I don't want the issue of backflow of anything getting into my fresh water system, I go ahead and I use this brass valve right here and I turn this unit off. Now the water supply from this hose is shut off to my unit, okay? So that's how we're going to isolate at that end, because we do not want this water being sucked back up the hose into the water supply. This is the business end. This is the other end of that hose we're talking about here, right? And what we're going to do is we're going to connect it to the spigot, which is right here. And again, now I have a quality brass two-way on this, only because I use this a lot. It's going to be with us a long time. These are kind of expensive, but they work well. But again, the first thing I do when I come to the freshwater side, which is the supply, is I shut my fresh water off. Again, I isolate it from here so that no water can get back there. And then this valve is also isolated unless I'm using it. So then I turn this valve on, or I connect my hose, get it on there, And then I can go ahead and pressurize this side, because no matter what happens now, my freshwater side is isolated as best as it can be, right? So now I can go ahead and charge this. And you want to charge it slowly, because you don't want, it's called water hammer. It is the power and the force of the water as it pushes that air out of the line and fills that hose with water. RV water systems are pretty delicate. Some sections of them are, so you turn that on real slow. Now that we have the this hose connected and it's charged, the line is on. Our freshwater valve is off, okay, at the unit. Now you slowly turn this unit on, and it starts filling the black tank. You can hear it running in there. All right. And there you go. Now you're charging water into the black tank. Now the next step is to close both of your freshwater valves, or your gray tank valves, because you don't want any black water getting in your tank. And then the final step is to pull your gray tank. Okay, so once we pull that black lever, now my valve is open. So what you're going to get is as you open that valve, there's going to be a rush of the contents of your black tank, of course. And because you've got the water hooked to your black tank, there's water running in your black tank as we speak. And so what you get is you get this. And as it drains, once it drains and it drains down to a trickle, after it gets down to a trickle like that, like it is about now, you come back and you close it. That's what I'm talking about, a secondary on-off valve on your system. Because if you do it with the handle that's integrated into the RV, you'll get gummed up, because debris will get around the seal to that tank valve. And then every time you pull into a spot to hook up, you're gonna have to put a bucket underneath your sewer connection, because about a half a gallon to a gallon, depends on how bad it is, but water's gonna run out and it's gonna be sewer water. So take care of that. All right, so as to the question of how much water you run in your black tank. I have I think it's about a 45 or 50 gallon black tank. So usually it takes me about 15 minutes on average for it to get enough water in it to get a good flush out of it. So what I do is I set a timer. I have a timer running in the background on my phone right now. I set a timer for 15 minutes, and you're gonna have to kind of gauge that depending on the type of rig you have. So don't take 15 minutes as a static number. If your tank's smaller, of course it'll fill up a lot quicker. So, but I set a timer, and that way every time that timer goes off, I dump it, and I can repeat that process with my black tank until the water in the discharge hose, where I can view it through that window, is clear. All right, guys, so I've rinsed it twice. I'm not done. I'm not going to go ahead and film every time I dump it, but my point is that it's been filling up for 15 minutes now, and this is actually not quite 15 minutes. I got some other stuff I'm doing, but then once it gets to this point, and I don't know if you can see this in the video, but you can kind of see how the water's clearing up. And as you let the muck run out of the tank, of course it carries a lot of debris with it, which is good. And once that water in the bottom of that pipe runs clean, in other words, once that water in the bottom of that pipe runs clean, in other words, there's not a lot of debris in it, it's almost clear. You might see some small particles and stuff. That's when it's time that you can go ahead and close your black tank valve on the rig first. Leave this valve open up both of your gray tanks, and you are ready to go. And then, of course, when it comes to the disconnection of the water hose, again, you release all the pressure on your black hose, disconnect it from the spigot and then the RV, and then you go back and you turn your fresh water on to your rig from the spigot, and that'll help isolate it. It's not a guaranteed process, and I'm not sure, like I said, most RV parks, most systems should have backflow prevention on them, because most bigger RVs, of course, have rinsable black tanks. So anyway, I hope this has helped. Until next time, just remember, my name is Chris Huckins, and I am the RV Survival Guy.